Welcome to the Layman Seminary. This video right here is going to close out the real-time descriptive summaries of the entire book of First Peter, and it's going to be pretty short. I'm just going to show you some of the things that I've done. For the section about right at the preliminary titles, I created the chart, and I did it by creating a table. Let me zoom this out so you can see the whole chart. And originally it was horizontal, but I turned it vertical. I used one color, but basically what this chart reflects, and I'll show you all this in a minute, is my observations in the text. So the main unit for First Peter, salutation 1, 1, and 2. And then I see another section here, 1, 3 through 12. And then I see 113 through 511 as one large section. Now, to be honest, this is probably not the exact division of the book. I don't expect that. This is preliminary and tentative. It's just an overview to get me started. And I did, after I did this, I went back in and I adjusted my outline, because I'm highly suspect that this section has 12 different subdivisions. But anyway, it gives you an idea of what's going on. So I wrote out the main and preliminary idea of the whole book. And then let's see, first tentative summary, write out the primary purpose of the book. I have that right here. And then here's my outline. So basically I've gone through and I've kept everything at the major division, minor division, segment, and paragraph level as I go through here. Let's see if there's, and then far as significant observations, what I did was I took my commentary, in other words, the stuff that I wrote when I was developing my descriptive summaries, as well as the outline in a spread it out format. I took that and interspersed that with the commentary from Bailey and Constable's, because the exercise is that we want to preserve this for later use. And so rather than doing a bunch of quotes, what I did was I color coded, because I'm only dealing with two sources, my source and this particular textbook source. Now, if I had multiple sources, then color coding wouldn't work unless you made a key or something, and then you would have to do footnoting and things like that. But for our purposes, I just made everything in green that I wrote, and then everything in blue that Bailey or Constable wrote. And that preserved everything. Then after I did that, I ran word rake, which condensed things even more. And then I ran Grammarly, which condensed things even more. And then I went back to word rake, ran that. Then I ran the review editor that's in Word document, and that condensed things more. So I went from about, I think it was 30 pages down to 15 pages, which is so far for this class, I think that's the lowest amount of pages I've turned in, because every time I turn in something, he's like, this is very good, but you've done more than necessary. And so I'm trying to reduce my page, and it helps. You know, the first book I did was Hebrews, and so then First Peter, and then James, or I did James after that, then First Peter. So I'll be doing Second Peter next, and that should be a little bit easier. But anyway, let me show y'all why I see some divisions, where I see the divisions at in the text. Okay. Let me pull up my Bible. Okay, so when I was reading, I really was impressed upon certain repeated words, right? Let me see. This pattern of suffering and glory. But right here, all this is he's doing the indicative. In other words, he's describing or explaining the blessings one's have in Christ or the process of salvation. He's doing all that. But in 113, he starts shifting to these imperatives, to these commands. And here you even see, prepare your mind, keep sober in the spirit. Okay, so you see that. And then you see this right here, fervently love one another from the heart. All right. Well, whenever I was reading the book, towards the end, you'll see those words again, which is kind of indicating inclusio, like a bookend or something, or at least the author's trying to tie in things. So look what happens here. Those statements that were said in the beginning of 113 about sober mind, here you have sound judgment, sober spirit, and spirits in italics there. And then you have keep fervent in your love. All right. So that made me, okay, there's got to be some type of main division in there, or at least he's wrapping up a main division. So that made me back up, and I was like, okay, let me look at this a little bit more. Now I noticed that the word beloved is used, and this can indicate a division as well in 2:11, and it's used in another place. Let's see if I can find it. I think he uses it in 4. Yeah. 4:12, beloved. So sometimes words like beloved, vocatives, in other words, names of calling, of address, they can indicate divisions and stuff like that. But I really saw this. I think this is what I saw as the most prominent idea, was way in 1 Peter 2, he's talking about submitting yourself for the Lord's sake to every human institution. And then he jumps down here and he says, servants, be subject to your masters, okay? And then we have the example of Christ. And then you have wives and you have husbands, and then you have a summary of to everyone to be submissive. And then suffering as a Christian, that's a form of submission. And suffering in the sense of denying the flesh, suffering for a Christian, that's there. And then suffering as it relates to dealing with each other, I guess you could say. Back to the suffering to Christ. And so this idea of submitting to suffering, submitting to the process that involves suffering, that's what came dominant. And so I was just thinking about, okay, we got our salutation. I tried doing S's at first, and I got salvation, 3 aspects, and then suit up. In other words, get ready, prepare. Let's say prepare your minds or whatever. So 113 to 25. And then I have ship out. In other words, okay, you're suited up. Now it's time for you to ship out, go out on mission, if you will. And so I have submit in service to God. And in the process of suffering, I could probably also add. So this is submit in service. So submit and suit up, submit and ship out, submit to every human institution. Servants submit to their masters. Submit like Christ's example. Submit in marriage roles. Submit a summary. Submit and suffer as a Christian. Submit and suffer like Christ, one in the flesh of the world. Submit and serve in sound spirit and love as the world winds down. Submit and suffer trials. And then submit to spiritual leadership, have spiritual fellowship during spiritual warfare. And then the conclusion. So that those are the structural reasons I went with a division like this. Now, like I said, this is preliminary and tentative based off my observations. If we look at a Bailey or Constable, and I'll go ahead and show y'all the resource that we're using, so you know who I'm referring to or what I'm referring to. This is one of the New Testament surveys. This is the one for the textbook. So Mark Bailey and Tom Constable, and this is from 99. All right, so it's kind of old, but it's good. Of course, it's DTS. And it doesn't go into a lot of detail like some of the other surveys, but it's the one we're using, and I think it's good for this process because our goal is to summarize what is here. But if y'all just go to Constable's Notes, I always do this. I show y'all this in videos all the time, but I'll do it again. Constable's Notes, and then type in the book, let's say 1 Peter. And there's audio there as well, but I go for the PDF. And see, this is updated every year, 2021. Now, things have probably changed since 1999 to 2021. But if we look at his outline, introduction, identity of Christian, the responsibilities of Christian individually, responsibilities of Christian corporately, and conclusion. Then we come, introduction, identity of Christian, our great salvation, hope of salvation, joy of salvation, the witness of salvation. See, I wasn't allowed to use this resource in my assignment. Otherwise, I would have had a way more detailed outline. And this probably reflects some of the more detailed stuff I already did myself. But like I said, I was just trying to interact from here. So let's just treat this. Let's look at this for a moment. All right. So clearly we differ on our divisions of 1-3. He takes it all the way to 210. And then here he takes 211 to 411, where my main division went all the way to 511. So because I think what happens is that I was focusing on the responsibility, right? To submit. And he's focusing on responsibility, but he's recognizing that there's an individual responsibility and a corporate responsibility here. So theoretically, if this is just generalized to responsibility of submit, then these could all fit under one unit. And then that would extend the amount of divisions. He still doesn't have as many divisions as I do, but it's kind of close. And so it's good to look at other outlines and evaluate that. Now, Logos has outline tools. It's been a while since I've done one. Let me see if I could try one real quick. Since this video is short, I have time. So when you go to passage guide, let's say I'm in 1 Peter, which I am. All right. So you got all this. Now, I don't have a lot of my stuff downloaded into my Logos right now. I just have too many resources. So we'll just see what comes up. Right here, outlines. So right now, only one outline is coming up, the Bible Knowledge Commentary. But whatever you have downloaded in your resources, like if I downloaded all my 1 Peter stuff, my computer would stop. But if I did that, then there would be several different outlines that would show up here. Also, literary typing gives an idea of structure you could use. So 1 Peter's a general epistle, 1 through 12 is the opening, 2 is the introduction, 3 to 12 a prayer of thanksgiving, allusions, and so on. So that and it goes through and it gives more and more divisions of the book. So there's ways to check your work if you don't want to just go off of Constable, which I always go to because it's 2021. But there's all kinds of, if you have Logos, where you can evaluate and go into as much detail as you want to do as far as your evaluation. So we'll just pull up this Bible Knowledge Commentary, which of course is DTS. And salutation is there. New birth. I wonder who done this one, because this outline is very similar to Constable. Not totally, but of course from the same seminary. But yeah, those are some things you can do. The last thing I want to do is I want to show y'all a resource. Maybe I've done it before, but you go to SlickWrite, okay? This is free. This is free software. Or it's not software, it's online, however you want to say it. But I'm just going to take what I already have, okay? And I'll just focus on this part and not the outline. and you can adjust it to show up whatever you want. But for demonstration purposes, I'll do this, and you just get an idea what's going on here. There's tons of things that can be. All right, so now that all that's in there, we can run a check. Now we can edit it and fix all the settings where you're looking at specific things, but we're just going to run the check, whatever previous settings I have. Okay, so first thing you start seeing is green words, passive voice, right? It's indicating passive voice. Now, if this was a paper, I wouldn't turn in passive voice, but I just simply don't have the time, and it's just not required for this assignment. It tells you when you have adverbs, and it'll give it reasons why. It'll tell you about them. They're not bad in large quantities, but you may want to take them out. And see, you can do this with a biblical text as well if you wanted to do a grammatical analysis. Well, we'll do that in a second, just so show you how that works. So yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do. It helps you make things more concise, and all the filters are not even close to being turned on. If you got statistics, it'll tell you how much you use. You could test it for flow, like how well it's flowing, what sections flow the way they do, what is lengthy. I'll give you all an idea of the settings. You got the basics, sentences. There's so many things. Hidden verbs, filter words, legalese. If you're so worried about the gender issues and the translation, you could turn on this biased language and all this, and gender specific pronouns, and you can see the decisions that the translations make. So that's one issue you can do, or one option you can do. You can let me go back to display. Well, there's display. Where we need it. Maybe I go back to here. Yeah. Okay. The other thing to do is that you can click on structure, and it'll tell you. It'll highlight simple sentence, 37 words. Okay, that's a simple sentence. Here's a complex sentence, 17 words. Here's a compound, 19 words. And I can show in other videos how you can use these different classifications of sentences in your studies. But simple sentence, like this right here, this is, let me know, this is a long, bulky sentence. 61 words. If you wanted to tighten things up, if you wanted to shorten things down, you could do that. I mean, this is mainly for writing, but you could use it in sermon preparation and all that. So yeah, it gives you an analysis of all that. It's even got a quote thing here, so like it highlights all your quotes. I don't have very many quotes because, like I said, I use the color quote instead. Even your vocabulary, like when you show different variety in vocabulary, like you change your style, you're repeating words, it will highlight like, okay, you're using a whole lot of vocabulary variety here, 61%, and then it'll give all of this analysis. And this is amazing that this is free, and I hopefully one day Logos will have some of this stuff inside of it embedded, so I don't have to go outside of Logos to do all these things, because I mean it's beneficial in a lot of ways. All right, so let's now, what's features do? Okay, of course you got to pop up there. Whoa, let me leave. Come back in, save, edit. Let's say I just want to run, we won't do a whole chapter or a whole book, but let's just say that I'm dealing with this right here. Now I don't want all the cross references and all of that, so I'm going to push styled instead of copy. Of course, if you're just using if you're not using Logos, you don't have to worry about that. I'm just mentioning that for the Logos users out there. You come in here like this, right? And we can check it. And so this is the English translation, and it's telling us like, okay, Here, the passive voice is being used. Well, why is the passive voice being used in English? Does that reflect the Greek? You know, look, from our English standpoint, this is considered an excessive prepositional phrase. So why are these prepositional phrases being used here? And so you get the idea, and you can notice things at a grammatical level, and this can help you be more exact in other areas. And like I said, it helps you evaluate translation differences and stuff. Well, anyway, in sum, hopefully I'm kind of giving you a wrap up of my work on First Peter that I'm about to turn in. And I've also given you some tips on things you can do to do your own work, and even some free resources. So if you're blessed by this video, give us a thumbs up. In other words, like it. Hit the bell if you want notifications, and subscribe if you haven't already. Share this with others. Let us know what you think, and most of all, keep this ministry in prayer. God bless.